Ready for a little 2-hour marathon, buddy? Huh? I've done a 2-hour one since the last Charity Tuesday. Yeah, oh, look at that dog. Look at that dog. Oh my goodness. Yes. Scratchy little Apache, aren't you? You're a scratchy little Apache. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Charity Tuesday. Hippity bop, flippity floop. Here we go. Right? We're raising money for Save the Children. This is Stream Team. We did a charity for them. It would have been January 2022 for the Hunga Tonga volcanic eruption. Basically, the huge parts of the population was basically rendered deaf, and they had tsunamis, and it was bad. And to this day, out of the 49, 50 Charity Tuesdays we've done, they are the only charity to thank us. Only one. To thank us for doing Charity Tuesday. And they sent me this sweet Stream Team sweatshirt. So, there we go. So I'm not wearing my normal crazy pattern shirt today because we're part of the Stream Team. And we're raising money for Save the Children. I want to thank you all for joining. I want to thank you all for donating so far. We're at 13.6% of the way to our goal. We have $136 already, even before I started. So thank you, everybody who's done that so far. We'll go through and thank individually here in a moment. I want to remind everyone that you can donate now. There's a button somewhere around here where you can donate. Everything is welcome. You also, if you're watching the show as a recorded version later, you can donate then, now, 2 days from now, a week from now. Any advertisements you see automatically go towards donations. So if you're just viewing, you're donating a penny right there. So yeah, thank you so much for everybody for making our Charity Tuesday super successful. We're at a little over 100, I think $146,000 so far raised for charity in our Charity Tuesday shows. We've met our goal every single solitary time. Our first show was a $500 goal and we raised $800. After that, we made it a $1,000 goal. We've met a $1,000 goal every single solitary time we put it out there. Our record for donations through YouTube is over $8,000 for, I think it was Toys for Tots 2 years ago. And our record overall was for the lovely Monkey Butt. We raised $19,000 for her surgery and chemo treatments and all that jazz. So I still thank you so very much for doing that. She's a sweetheart, even though she's a tripod now. We'll hop along Cassidy. Still lots going on in the news. Donald Trump signed an executive order effectively removing the Posse Comitatus Act, which makes it illegal for U.S. troops to be law enforcement officers. Very, 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 very dangerous step towards authoritarianism. The markets are still like, I don't know what's going on. My Facebook post resulted in a lot of talk about ports in around the country, and I begin comments like, you've been proven wrong, and then it turns out that the ports are expected to be down 30% to 60%, and trade from China has effectively dried up. So yeah, we're gonna be facing some rough times here if this is not fixed, and even if it is fixed, there's going to be a month-long or more lag as ships leave China to actually come to the U.S. and bring products. So we're probably 2 months away from relief if he fixes it right now. Yeah, so everything else to add off the top, Monkey? I don't know. Here we go. Save the Children, Charity Tuesday show, Charity Tuesday intro.
Let's get started. Let's go. Houston, we have a problem.
All right, there we go. Turn that sucker off right there. Okay. Well, let's get the thank yous out of the way, because Save the Children is an amazing organization. They're formed in 1913 in the UK. They have branches all over. They help little kids. They help kids. That's their goal. They make sure that they're fed, that they're clothed, they're housed, they get medical care in war zones, natural disaster areas, famine-stricken areas. None of the stuff that happens to these kids is their fault. It's the fault of the adults around them and the regimes that lord over them, or the natural disasters that hit. So the goal of Save the Children is to get out there and help kids. Folks were asking me for a charity that helps Gaza. I think Save the Children is a fantastic one. They're not just in Gaza. They're in Vanuatu. They're in Sudan. They're in Ukraine. But they've had an on the ground permanent presence in Gaza since 1953, and they've helped thousands of kids get fed, hydrated, medical care. Their volunteers and their workers are in harm's way, and some of them have died doing their job trying to help people. So we're raising money for Save the Children today because they're a fantastic organization, and please donate. We're up to $166, 16.6% of the way to our goal. And Kevin Rayonen was the first one to get in there. Don Cesar Shadem donated. Darren Saunders, Chris Taylor, Tadalus, all the way from Estonia. I got a couple anonymous donations. Thank you, Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous. Alexander K, thank you for getting there and for giving us our lovely our Charity Tuesday intro. Cameron Mirza, thank you, from Canada. The Canadians elected Carney yesterday, so he is your prime minister. It was a rout. So much of a rout that actually leftist parties lost seats because so many of them voted for Labour. So it should be kind of interesting how the dynamic plays out in Parliament after this. Another anonymous donation. Thank you so much. And there we go, $200. Woo! We're 20% of the way there, and we are 7 minutes into our show. So let's make this another successful Charity Tuesday. Woo! Okay. To the chat. We didn't get through the chat much yesterday. I was doing a lot of ranting, a lot of pent-up ranting yesterday. So let's answer some of your questions this time around. Sis54 says, haha, nerds. Winnie the Pooh, second. Belgian Wales, third. Or turd. Brandon Welts, up BBBY, Sup No Labs. With Bed Bath & Beyond Bankruptcy, BBBYQ, for those of you who are not used to our program. The latest I heard is that the estate is seeking a bunch of refunds for overpayment and taxes to states and counties and cities. Outside of that, still waiting, still twiddling our thumbs. No Labs had some weird pops in the last week. No idea why. Still trying to get Ron to agree to come onto a show. I was hoping April would be the month, but it seems we have a lot going on here. Oh, goodness gracious. Sorry, there's a whole bunch of you just donating in here. So thank you, The Chill Face. Thank you, Jay Geyser. Thank you, Where to Wander. Thank you, Another Anonymous. Thank you, Murph and Turf Studios. And thank you to my friend Carol Ann, donating from Hawaii. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. We're now $320. And Hungry Caveman, $340. 34% of the way to our goal. And we're 8 minutes into the show. So, woo! Scott Pollen at 3M where? I'm in India and it's 9 p.m. These are comments from yesterday or this morning, early this morning for the show. Kevin Raymond says, happy birthday, Houston. Luke Alexander, I hope you're doing well, Houston. Well, it's happening at my retail job. Corporate has started cutting down hours and removing shifts in response to the tariffs. I really hope BBY pops off soon. I guess one benefit of them removing the Bed Bath & Beyond ticker is that all of us who are desperate aren't tempted to sell because we can't. So that's one way to force us to hold until there's waterfall payments, distribution equity, etc. So I feel for you there, Luke. It seems like it's happening in a lot of places. There's TikTok videos now going out of places, especially the Midwest, showing like dwindling stocks in grocery stores. I wouldn't doubt if the further you are from an international port, the sooner you're going to be facing scarcity. So I guess we'll see, huh? C. Gill, yesterday I mentioned that CPI data is Wednesday, but I was wrong. It's the GDP advanced estimate. CPI is May 13th. Had my wires crossed. Okay, so it's the GDP advanced estimate. That normally comes out of Atlanta, right? They're the ones that were saying that we were going to contract last quarter, and then we contracted more than they estimated. So I guess we'll we'll see how that goes. Dead Bass, apologies if I missed your answer last time. I've been through Plush, Oregon several times thanks to the show. I looked for and found sunstones last week. Any suggestions on where to get them cut? There are basically 3 ways to get them cut. If you're doing gemstones at all, do it yourself. So get yourself a faceting machine, or if you're doing cabs, a cabbing machine, and do it yourself. It is a learning process, but once you know the mathematics of it, it's pretty straightforward. There's going to be faceting clubs and gemstone clubs in your counties, your communities, and you will go and you'll hang out with a bunch of little old ladies, and they will teach you how to do it. And there's even machines you can rent or borrow at their clubs to do it. Or you can ask one of the ladies at the clubs to cut the stones for you. They may charge you some money. What I've done in the past with stones, especially ones that I want cut really nice that I've found, sapphires, things like that, where I don't trust my own skill levels, is I send them to Thailand. In the gem districts in Canterbury, there's cajillions of gemstone cutters. It is kind of nerve-wracking to send something that could be worth an absolute ton of money to a stranger halfway around the world, have them cut it and promise to put it back in the mail and insure it so that you actually get it. There's so much fear when you put that thing in the mail and you're like, because they could just be like, cool, thanks for the free stone, and they're done. Right now, that's probably harder with the way tariffs, international trade are going. So I have no idea. I haven't sent anything since this whole tariff fiasco is going on. And then, that's the 3 ways. You cut it, old ladies cut it, person in Thailand or India or wherever you find a gemstone cutter. When I've had the couple of times I've had diamonds done, there's actually here in Seattle, there's a gemstone company that has the laser super cutter, and they will do it for, it's pretty expensive, but when you have a cut gemstone, it does add a lot of value. Like if you have a 1 carat rough gemstone, maybe it's worth $100, $150, $200. You get it cut, all of a sudden it's worth $1,000, maybe more. So it usually adds about 10x to the value of the gemstone. So that's what I recommend. And if you guys are ever going to go to Plush, man, the most beautiful, gorgeous time to go is sort of end of March into April, when all the snow's melting, everything's green and lush. All the birds are migrating through the dry lake beds that now suddenly have water. There's waterfalls all over the place. It is absolutely some of the most gorgeous country I've ever been through in my entire life. Only for like that month. Outside of that, it is barren, dry, like the surface of the sun, or freezing cold and miserable. But March, April, wonderful. Lisa Sa. Nayib Bukele's YouTube channel shows him touring mega prisons just before it opened. Yes, it's a propaganda video. Gotta say, that's an impressive facility, difficult to break out of. It's a concentration camp. It's what it is. And then it's gonna, according to Trump, wants them to build 5 more so he can take a bunch of Americans and send them down there for prison. So, Murphy Studios. After all that barbecue talk last week, I had to buy a pork butt for this week in the slow cooker now, and made some Alabama white sauce for sandwiches. How do you acquire patience? T-minus 5 hours. I usually set it and then go to work, or set it and do a show, or do it overnight. Like just after St. Patrick's Day, our local fancy grocery store had Wagyu corned beef. It was normally like 20 something a pound. Like this is like real fancy Wagyu corned beef. And I was able to get it for $7 or $8 a pound on sale the next day. So I bought a big ass chunk of that. 16 hours at 250 in the oven. And it was heaven. Just melted in your mouth. It was so good. A lot of that was, I said it before work. I went to work. I came home. I slept for 10, 12 hours. I then did a show, and then it was ready. So Like it was a long time in the oven, and it just gotta wait and drool the entire time. I know my mouth is watering at the thought of it right now. J-Dog was 15th, and he says, "Go Mariners! Go Mariners! First place in the AL West. 6 series wins in a row. Somehow they are, I think, the top 3 run producers in the league, despite having a .228 team batting average, and first baseman is hitting like 100. So that's, impressive. Just wait. Let's see what happens when the weather starts to warm up. The weather's been pretty nice the past couple of weeks, but this week, a little chilly, a little rainy. We'll see how they do. Where are we now? We're at $470. So Anonymous donated. Fer Garcia donated. Left-handed waved with a big donation. Bleh. 8319 also donated. So we're at $470, 47% of the way to our $1,000 goal. And we are 16 minutes into the show. So we can do it. You can do it. We got $530 to go. We met our goal. We saved the children. So keep it coming. Come on. Bring it. It's Cherry Tuesday. We'll wait all month for this, right? Like what I got paid from YouTube this month for last month was $900. I got $900 from YouTube for doing 5 shows a week, right? What? 50, 100,000 views a month, whatever I'm at. And we raised $1,500 for our charity on Charity Tuesday. So, this is the show that matters. Please keep your donations coming. Basically everything I do is to maintain an audience so that we can have a successful Charity Tuesday every month. It's the best show of the year, of the month, I guess, because we do 12 of them, sometimes more if there happens to be a particular natural disaster that needs help. But yeah, you folks are awesome. So thank you for being awesome and keep donating. Let's do it. $470, man. $470. Fred Jones, notice at first, here I am first. That's true. Sis54 was first, but just said, haha, nerds. And Fred Jones, Houston, what is up with SPY? I was looking in on it for some puts today, and man, just keep going up. You got me, dude. My guess is they're pumping it to put it on to the folks who will get left holding the bags at this point. There's a report that came out yesterday showing that hedge funds had dumped like $1 trillion in securities in the last month or so. They're dumping. If you want to know when to buy things, look at when Berkshire Hathaway finally starts buying stuff. They're not buying anything right now. They are arms crossed, sitting on their $300+ billion in cash, waiting for the proper opportunity to buy. We are in one heck of an impressive dead cat bounce right now, and it makes no sense because we have no tourism. Goods are slowing down, stopping coming to the United States. Our exports are failing because people are canceling orders because they're pissed at us. The dollar is getting weaker. So maybe the reason why the SPY is going up is because the dollar's weaker. So to have the same amount of SPY, you need that much more cash. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense except for the fact that they're just finding some bag holders that pump it up and people go, oh, they got some sort of FOMO or something. But, Amazon today started posting the included tariff price on their products. Just a big old list of what things are going to cost now because of the tariffs. And the Trump administration is pissed. Like, this is a political attack. Whatever, dude. And their stock took a giant hit today. Just kind of fell off a cliff there. They have a long ways they can go because it's a pretty high price stock, but dropped $10. And but that's that's the reality of it. If you are the importer of record, meaning you order something direct from a manufacturer in China and it comes here, you're paying the 145% tax. If you order from Temu, Shein, Amazon, Walmart.com, whatever, it also comes from China, but those companies are the importer record and they're paying the tariff, and they just include that into your price for the thing you just bought. So you're going to see price rises like crazy just from the tariffs alone. And on top of that, you're going to start to see price rises as things become more scarce, as ships stop coming, because there's a lot of retailers who have told their manufacturers, just keep it. Just keep it there. Maybe they'll drop the tariffs and we can import it. So there's a lot of warehouse space getting used up in China right now. So it's getting expensive for everybody to like house that stuff. People are holding back on not ordering. You've got weird things like Walmart telling them just bring the stuff, we'll figure it out. And then you have grocery stores chains like Albertsons, Albertsons, Safeway, who are also trying to merge with Kroger, telling their vendors, no, we're not paying it. Fuck you. So I don't know what it means for the grocery stores. If the vendors just don't deliver the food to the grocery stores because they're not getting compensated for the tariff fees, then, you're going to be looking at empty grocery stores because so much of our food comes from outside this country, especially packaged food. Because, you got cereal packagers and stuff in the United States, but a lot of your canned foods are coming from overseas. They get canned overseas, fish, shrimp, tropical fruits. We don't really grow tropical fruits in commercial capacities in the limited tropical space we have in the United States, in Florida and Hawaii. We don't get our bananas from here. We don't get much of our coffee from here. Hawaii has to have like a boutique coffee, and that's what separates them from everyone else, because they've got to charge more for it than you do for coffee coming from Brazil or Colombia, Bolivia, whatever. So yeah, we're facing even the 10% tariffs. That means the price is going to go up 10% everywhere. And then remember, that only lasts for the 90 days from when Trump was like arbitrarily like, well, we're going to pause it for 90 days. Because then in 90 days, he's going to threaten everybody again and throw them up, and the market's going to go into upheaval. And I don't know. I don't know why the SPY keeps being like, oh, things are fine. Maybe they're just counting on Trump, caving. He may cave. He's done it in the past. But, he has to walk this fine line of I need to look tough, go get him. And then he doesn't want to get blamed for anything. So he's got this weird internal conflict of like, I need to look tough and I can't give in, because if I give in, that makes me look weak. At the same time, he doesn't want to take blame for anything, so he wants to be able to pass the buck on to somebody else, or just pretend like he never did the damage he did. So I don't know how this is going to turn out. It's, yeah. See here at the bottom. And on July 9th will be the 90th day of the pause. There you go. So, yeah. We're at $681. Holy shnikes. Anonymous donated. Julius Miami donated. Wrong conclusion with a big one. Another anonymous, another anonymous, another anonymous. $691. 69.1%. 69? 0.1% to our goal. We have $309 to go, and we're 24 minutes into the show. Another round of applause. Thank you so much. And don't forget, if you're watching this recorded show later, you can still donate. Like, we just because we meet our goal doesn't mean that's all there's to come. We meet our goal, Monkey Butt gets a treat. Then we'll do like every $150, Monkey Butt gets another treat. We'll make her fat and happy. Why? Because she's a little cancer dog, and little cancer dogs just, they need their treats. So if you keep donating, she'll definitely get to the treat zone and be super duper, 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 scooper, hooper, duper, flooper happy. Right, buddy? Right? Because right now you're like, oh, I'm not getting anything. Because we haven't gotten to our goal yet. So you will starve until then. I will hold you hostage. I know. It's the panic side eye I'm getting from you. But you're going to be hostage until we make our $1,000 goal. Which we're getting close to. $731. So Nanamoth and Dig Dug Doink all got in there as well. You can too. There's kind of a small crowd today. We're at 157 in our crowd today. That means if you all just donate $2, we beat our goal. Just get in there, just $2. Just two little dollars. You help some kids who are facing trauma and tragedy and disaster greater than anything you've ever experienced in your entire life. We're talking kids in war zones, in earthquakes, in famines. They're losing their parents, they're losing their siblings, they're losing their homes. they are as destitute and as helpless as any human being can be at any time in history. They're at the absolute bottom. And here we are, you know, we've got $738 we can throw their way, hopefully 1,000 or more, and that will help a couple of them. Yeah, that might be the difference between them starving to death, dehydrating to death, dying from exposure, etc. Like, let's help them. Why not? Just a little bit, and we'll get there. We're at $758. We got another anonymous from London there, or England, UK, and D33 Rock donated there, and Darren Saunders got in there. I love seeing the same folks every month donate, like clockwork. It's like, you know, I can count on you guys, and I love that. So thank you again, everybody. We're $763, so $237 to go, and we still have an hour and a half of me barking to get there. So, whew. Fred Jones also says, I guess finger squeeze over, went up to $2 and right back down again. I mean, that's the times it squeezed. In the past, was it 2023 when it was doing that cycle every month, was going from like $1 to $3, and it never really shot up above that. It just would go boink and then hammer it down, boink, hammer it down, just on a regular cycle. It might have been due to options, because the options I think are monthly, so you'd have a gamma on that monthly option expiration. The price would rise, they cover their positions, and then it would slide right back down again, and then everyone would load up on options. My guess is that's what Finger was doing that entire time. So yeah, I got my few shares. Probably should have jettisoned them, but I didn't. Here I am. So I'm holding right now. Coda K, I'm here. Thank you for being here. Fred Jones, Bezos backtrack on Amazon showing tariff price, Trump blackmailing Bezos, waiting for hell to freeze over. Good luck, everyone. Peace out. Yeah. Bezos. I don't understand necessarily Bezos' political motivations. I really don't. My friend Sarah works for him. She's crew member 7 at Blue Origin. And the way she talks about him on a personal level is like an admiring soldier willing to follow that general anywhere into battle. She's like, this dude knows his shit, and he is amazing. But you look at the grand picture of things, and you see the way he treats, you know, drivers and warehouse workers, and you're like, wow, that's kind of shitty. And then you see him, you know, originally go for the Washington Post. He bought the Washington Post to really talk shit about Trump 8 years ago, whenever he bought it. And then all of a sudden, this time around, he has just folded, and he is basically taking editorial freedom away from the editors and the publishers at the Washington Post, and forcing them to basically ignore their journalistic integrity and not report on what is actually happening in this administration, and even in the campaign. And it seems like, you know, if you're worth $200-300 billion, you should not give a shit what some dumpy little wannabe billionaire thinks. You should have, you know, you could take a week's worth of earnings and absolutely crush that man in a PR battle if you wanted to. You could smoke him. You could absolutely just dust him. You own MGM. You own Amazon Studios. You own the Washington Post. You own Amazon Web Services. You have the ability to smoke that guy whenever you want. You can pay 10,000 Twitch streamers extra to talk shit about him if you wanted to, because you own Twitch, right? So what the fuck is he doing caving to this man who's actively destroying his net worth? Like, he would have saved more money spending $100 billion vaporizing Trump in this election than he has with Trump winning. So, Jeff, dude, what the fuck? Figure it out, man. He does not have your best interests in mind. He wants you gone. He wants your money. He wants you gone. And he is going to do it. So, it's a leopard eating your face, dude. Figure it out. Do it charity. What are you going to spend that money on? Save the children, Jeff. So, spend it here. We're at $768 because Tropic got in there too and donated. So, we're $232 away from our goal. And it's 3:01. We're 31 minutes into the show. Mr. E-Machine, how much longer until I can get the float of IEP locked up? It's pretty locked up. I mean, last time we were talking about this was a couple months ago, and he was at, what, 92%? Seems to me that's a pretty solid amount of the float to have of your, not just float, total shares outstanding. That's where he's at, 92% of total shares outstanding, not just the float. Because the float would include things that he doesn't own because he's an insider, so he's not part of the float, free float. But he has 92% of the total shares outstanding of IEP. I am waiting for him when he's going to drop that hammer because you know he's going to. He's a vengeful old goat. It doesn't take much. Probably, announcement of a dividend increase or some sort of windfall from one of their weird secret projects they got going on. That's probably where we'll be. So I just would have thought he'd done it by now. But with the market in this, quivering up and down steep cycle that we keep going through, maybe he's waiting for his moment, just like Berkshire Hathaway is. So, And 9, you hear that con leader in Canada is getting evicted from his government-funded house because he lost his seat in his local riding. See, Canada did what U.S. should have done. That's funny. Oh, well. There you go. B-Ball 3710, you live close to Canada. Have you ever thought about moving there? What would some pros and cons for you personally? I'm actually applying to some community college teaching positions in Canada. The crazy thing is that like I teach, here and there at a couple of colleges in the Seattle area. And the pay at those community colleges is much better than when I was working for private colleges, like the Film Institute and the Art Institute. But the pay for part-time adjunct faculty at Canadian community colleges is on par with full-time tenured faculty here in Washington. So the starting pay for a part-time adjunct astronomy professor is 85 to 105,000 Canadian. That's part-time. So that's, it's like $70 to $90,000 for a part-time job. Pfft, sign me up, dude. And free healthcare? Okay. So yeah, I'm applying. I don't know when I'll hear back, if I'll hear back. There's probably hundreds of scientists all with the same idea right now. So yeah, pros, free healthcare. That's giant pro. One of the safest countries in the world, giant pro. If it ends up being in like Vancouver area, then the weather's basically the same. A little bit closer to Whistler, another pro. If it's somewhere else farther away across the country, that might suck a little more because I'm not a big fan of East Coast climate. A lot of bugs. It's like winter and bugs. Those are their two seasons. And I'm not that big on it. I mean, like where my brother was living in Nova Scotia, they got some pretty nice summers. The winters are pretty miserable, cold, wet, snow. The waves are impressive, though. So you got the Gulf Current going up there. I would prefer to be Northwest if I were to get a teaching job in Canada. Just because, if I need to, my family's right there. Easier, I can drive places. I can get to Kelowna in, 8 hours. I get to Vancouver in like 3. Or vice versa. So, yeah, I'd prefer West Coast. West Coast, best coast. Yeah, $798. Woo! Red Lightsaber, Walt the Man in the Middle, and Anonymous also got in there again. So we're $202 away from our $1,000 goal. Boom. But cons, well, it really depends on where this regime goes, is what the cons may be. Like, when I was a little kid, my dad lived in Vancouver, I lived in Vancouver. I had a great time as a little kid in Vancouver, bounced back and forth all day long. You know, head up there for the weekend, head down here for the week, that stuff. No problems. You just flash your passport and you go. Now, transiting borders are getting sketchy for everybody, citizens included. I mean, they've been deporting citizens, cancer victims, children, without due process. You just send their asses to another country. So our rights are deteriorating in a real quick fashion, in the way the laws are being interpreted within border zones, within the 100 miles of our border, that give Border Patrol and ICE like free reign to basically do whatever the hell they want. It's quite terrifying. So there's issues like the Peace Arch. You guys know what the Peace Arch is? Let's show you the Peace Arch. It's, you know, famous spot, Blaine, Washington, the border crossing there. Boink. There we go. Okay. So the Peace Arch here in Blaine, Washington was built as sort of like a peace zone. Right here on the water, it's just a little park. You know, half of it is in Canada, half of it is in Washington, and you don't need a passport to wander through the Peace Arch Park. Like, you know, the table where treaties were signed and stuff like that. You can be on either side of this line, be Canadian, be American, doesn't matter. You can wander the park. It is a shared space without having to pass through the border. So here's the border crossing. So if you are Canadian, you walk past here, you're fine. You want to go further than that, you got to go through the border crossing. Same thing with if you're an American, like you can be in the Peace Arch Park, play soccer, fly a kite, whatever. You cross this, you got to go through the border crossing over on the Canadian side. There recently, Canadians, you know, doing their little walks around the park, have been getting harassed by American Border Patrol and threatened with detainment if they didn't cross back onto the Canadian side. This is some adversary bullshit that we've never had to do before. Who cares if a Canadian, you know, walks their dog and they pee over here and then they walk back? That's the entire point of the park, dude. Go for kids, kick your soccer ball around, do your shit. We just, like, here's the Peace Arch. It straddles the border, shows you got you know, children of a common mother. Like, it's showing that we're you know, siblings, basically. We're both born of British colonialism, and we're just being dicks for the sake of being dicks, and it's stupid, and it's destructive, and it erodes our liberties, our freedoms, our allegiances, our incomes, and it's fucking stupid. If you're a Border Patrol agent, this day and age, you're a fucking Nazi. That's it. You're Gestapo, you're SS, you're whatever. Like, you are not doing good. You're doing harm. You're actively doing harm in this country. You're actively doing it. Be better than that. Quit being such a fucking shitbird. You're being led by some doofus who seems to have, like, I don't know, wads of cotton in his mouth or something, who is a racist Nazi piece of garbage, and you're just like, yeah, let's go hurt people. And that seems to be the MO for Border Patrol at this point. Quit being a dick. Just stop it. Be better than that. It's not hard. It's not hard to be a good person and have empathy and sympathy and want to do good every day. I do not understand the imperative motive that so many of these people have, which is, oh, I get to hurt someone? Delicious. And that seems to be where they're going. And I don't like it. I don't like where we're headed in that respect. Just be better. Be fucking better. That's it. You know, I've made this point before where, like, Kamala Harris, no, not my perfect ideal candidate. I disagree with her on like the neoconservative side of her politics, but you know, I saw her desire to even just moderately improve the status quo in the United States as making everyone's lives just minutia better, right? And that's why I voted for her. Whether you were a Trump supporter or were not, I saw her and her policies as making your life just a little bit better. You voted for Trump not to make your life better, not to make my life better. You voted for Trump because you knew he was going to hurt people for you. And that's our philosophical difference, is that you knew he was going to hurt people. You just didn't imagine that it was going to be you that he was hurting. So there we are. That is the fundamental core difference in all of this. And now we have a government specifically engineered to hurt people. And they're out there hurting people. They're hurting us. They're hurting our immigrants. They're hurting tourists. They're hurting our trade partners. They're hurting our allies. They're just hurting people for the sake of hurting people. Out of some misplaced greed that they got something that we should have and we're going to get it. And the thing is, we're not going to get fucking shit for it except grief. That's all we're going to get. We're going to get grief from everybody. Just imagine you are, Blueberry. Let's tell the story. I think I've told the story of Blueberry in the past, but might as well tell it again. When I was in college, my second year in Hawaii, I'm in this observational astronomy course. This is where you learn basically how telescopes work, CCDs, taking raw data and cleaning up the images and doing computer programming, things like that. And it's a very technical course, and it's meant for folks who have gone through, you know, the previous astronomy courses in physics. You want a blanket? Is that what you want? Okay, we can do that. And in this class was this like super handsome, you know, tall, just chiseled, strong, broad shoulders, kind of dirty blonde, handsome man, like Brad Pitt looking, but like bigger and stronger. And he was all of a sudden it's in his class, and everyone's like, all the girls were like, oh my God, who's this handsome man suddenly in our astronomy program? Because we're surrounded by like ogres and autists. And he really didn't say much. He was just this cool, debonair, sly, never opened his mouth, never really said hello to everyone, didn't really say much to anybody. I think his first name was like Calvin or Carl or something. And so he remained this mystery, especially for all the girls in the class. They were just like a Twitter about this like mysterious stranger who suddenly showed up. So when you're in observational astronomy and you are in Hawaii, you go up to the top of Mauna Kea to do your observation runs. So Mauna Kea, since might as well go there right now, right? So flying across the ocean, gonna go. Oops, gotta go out a lot further than that to fly across the ocean. There we go. So the Big Island of Hawaii, 14 of the largest telescopes in the entire world, right at the top of Mauna Kea. They all have their own little Wikipedia pages. They're all up here. Caltech, NASA Infrared, UK, UCURT, Canada France, Hawaii, Keck, Gemini, Subaru. They're all up there. At the 9,000 foot level is Halepohaku. There's the visitors information station. There's the rooms for the astronomers, and then there's the sort of like the main clubhouse here, where they serve dinner and you know, we can do rad stuff. Basically, if you're going to go do an observation run, you have to go up, and especially if you're going to a full overnight observation run, supposed to get acclimated for 24 hours, and then you go do your observation run. So all the astronomers, they go stay at this hotel, they go to the cafeteria, they do all that stuff. And we, as students, we get to go do observation run because our telescope is up there, and we have a little 1 meter telescope. And so we go to the cafeteria, and the guy who ran the cafeteria, fantastic gentleman. All the guys in the kitchen, fantastic. They get you whatever you need. You know, they make great food, steak nights and pasta and desserts, and you name it. So this evening we were there. They were serving, I think it was a steak night, and then they had a blueberry pie as dessert. And this kid, Carl, Calvin, whatever you want to call him, walks up and he sees there's no blueberry pie, and he loses his goddamn mind. Absolutely like, what the fuck? Where's the blueberry pie? I was looking for it. Just like flipping chairs and just pissed off. And he goes up to the chef and he's like, where the hell's the blueberry pie? And the chef's like, sorry, bro, out. Don't have any more blueberry pie. This is outrageous. Oh, fuck you. Fuck this. This is bullshit. And like, remember, this kid isn't paying a dime for this food. This is free food for him because we're up there doing observation run at our telescope. It's not costing him any money. He got a free dinner, right? He missed out on the blueberry pie. Bummer, right? But no, he is out to hurt people for the sake he didn't get what he felt like he deserved, which was his blueberry pie. A few minutes later, my friend Ben, he volunteered with me up there, so we knew the chefs. We were up there like every week doing our volunteering stuff. He walks up, he's like, hey man, do you have any more of that blueberry pie? And the chef's like, of course, right here. But under one condition. You have to take this blueberry pie, you have to go sit in front of that kid over there and eat it slowly and deliciously while looking him in the eyes. And Ben's like, that is weird, but okay. So he takes his plate of blueberry pie, because I didn't see the hissy fit, and he sits down in front of this kid and he starts eating it, and the kid loses his fucking mind. Absolutely destroys everything he possibly can. People having to like restrain him. He wants to fight folks. And that's how he got the name Blueberry. That's why I don't remember his first name. His name is Blueberry after that. He is the United States of America being an absolute clown fuck to everybody in the world, demanding what they deserve, and then not getting shit for it because people are pissed off at your attitude. That's us. We are Blueberry. We are Blueberry now. We've entered the Blueberry status. The other funny thing about this kid, so we're in this observational course, and the teacher's up there, professor is up there talking about, I believe he was talking about the old systems of, using silver nitrate glass panels for doing photographs, and today using CCDs and how CCDs work with cascading and errors and the arrays, and then putting it into a database and then turning that into an image based on photon values, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's going on and on about the technology and the improvements in CCDs over time. Back then, the biggest CCD in the world was Megacam. I think at UCURT, which was 380 megapixels. And now there's like people's phones who have that many. But anyway, so we're going through this whole thing, and Blueberry raises his hand, and all of us are like, oh my God, Blueberry's speaking. And he raises his hand. In this course, remember, you have to have had a year or two of astrophysics and physics to be in this course. You should understand at least the basics of the universe. He raises his hand and he asks, how are stars so hot when space is so cold? And the professor is just like, he looked like he'd been slapped. The whiplash, you could see it in his like brain, him processing like why someone just asked this question in what is essentially an upper division course, and the room is just silent. We're all like, did he just really ask that? And this kid behind him just kicked his back of his chair and says, fusion, dumbass. And that's when we discovered that Blueberry, he had come from an evangelical church. The church was paying for him to get a degree in astronomy and astrophysics, specifically to prove all of us wrong that the Earth is actually 5,000 years old. So he came not knowing shit about anything because he was some sort of weird born-again evangelist. And his job was to prove all of us nerds wrong, and that the Earth is in fact 5,000 years old. And so he's going to learn all of our secrets so he could disprove them all. He failed the course, and then we never saw him again. So that is what happens when you are a Blueberry. Don't be a fucking Blueberry. That's the goal. That should be the goal in life, is to be something better than the Blueberry. Be a good person. Be a person there to help, a person there to do good, a person there to stand up for others, a person to help people. Kindness is easy to do. It is easy to do. So do it. It ain't hard, man. It just ain't hard. So don't be a Blueberry. We're up to $843. Got Kate McFadden got in there. Luke Alexander got in there. Another anonymous donation. Anonymous is kicking some ass today, guys. This might be the most anonymous donations we've ever had. At least the numbers of anonymous is popping up. $843. 84.3% of our goal to doing some good for Save the Children and the stream team. So by all means, keep it coming. We are $157 away from our $1,000 goal. And we're not even an hour into the show. So, yay! Okay. I still am like not even to the start of the show with the chat yet. So, got me talking about Blueberry here. It says before, what is going on with the blackout in Spain, Portugal, cyber attack, or solar flare is nowhere safe. The explanation, and I am not an electronics guy. One thing I would have loved to have had the opportunity to do is take more courses in like electronics and electrical engineering, but I'm not an electronics guy. Everything I know is basically like first year physics doofus stuff. From what I understand is that there was a heat change over the high tension power lines that went over the Iberian Peninsula on the Portugal side. And this heat change caused some sort of oscillation in the wires. I'm not in the way they word it, because it's all being translated from like Spanish into English. The way they word it, I can't tell if it's an oscillation from the wires themselves moving or an oscillation of the power passing through the lines. Because these high tension power lines, they're generally direct current and they're super duper high voltage. So they're direct current going whomp. And then when they get to local transfers, then they go through an AC adapter and they go to 60 hertz and they're just firing back and forth. And I can't even explain AC that well. Read a book on Tesla. The man, not the fucking car company. And that there was some sort of oscillation in these gigantic high tension power lines that made individual substation think that there was about to be a failure, because what was being mimicked by these oscillations is the same as if there's a cascading failure going on. So they just obey the cascading failure and all the substations shut down. And as a result, they just broke across the entire Iberian Peninsula, despite the fact there was enough energy actually being produced by their power generation. And I think Spain is 100% green energy at this point. And then two problems happened after that. One was each individual substation had to be manually like jump started. You can't just be like at the computer go tip tap tip tap tap and it starts right back up. It is off. So it's just someone to go and like throw a switch and turn on that substation, and you have to hit every single solitary one throughout the country because they're all part of that network. And number two, because they're in this super duper green energy mode, they didn't have enough energy when it got dark to restart the whole network because the batteries had been drained. And so a lot of folks had to remain dark through overnight, and in the daytime, that's when the sun finally came out. They're able to like boost up the energy production again. So I think one of the things Spain and Portugal may need to look at are fallback power stations, like not ones that are there to produce energy all the time from coal or natural gas or whatever, oil, but are there just when you have a blackout period like this. You can fire them up, have them producing all the gigawatts you need, so you don't have to rely upon the draining batteries to reboost the system. A lot of folks are doing the conspiracy thing, saying, oh, it's because they, canceled some sort of arms deal with Israel and they got attacked. Maybe. It seems like a cyber attack would be easier than what seems to have happened. But I don't know. I honestly don't know enough about power lines and distribution to make any call in that regard. My buddy Dave he bicycled down the Portuguese coast, and now he's sort of like in the southeast of Spain. And it happened while he was bike riding. So he's like pedaling along. He has no idea that all this stuff is going on because he's enjoying the sunny day in southern Spain. And he pulls into town and it's just no lights. He's like, huh. He goes to use his phone. He thought his phone was broken because he wasn't getting any service all day. He's like, this old piece of shit. And he's like, he said he was about to throw it in the ocean. And he just didn't, because he's like, all right, calm down. And he thankfully did, because he got to the town he was in to realize that all the batteries at all the cell towers had died. That's why he wasn't getting a service. And then he didn't know how to get a room, because everything books online. And he didn't even know where hotels were, because there was no way to search. And his Spanish is pretty terrible, even though he's been there for like a month now. But eventually he was able to like find a hotel that gave him a room, and they let him pay with cash and everything. But yeah, it can be some rough going. I'm sure, much of the nation here, when they experience power outages, they freak out too. We get power outages all the time. Like, you guys know that there's days I can't broadcast because in the wintertime we get huge storms that come in and just knock down all the trees. And then there's like a day or two where I can't do any shows. It happens. So this one is just a way different boy than what I've ever seen a power outage happen before from. We're $868. Sad Boy Incorporated and Michael Rice got in there. Stupendous. $132 to go to our $1,000 goal on Monkey's first treat of the show. You see up in this corner here, that blob under a blanket. That blob under a blanket will, when she hears that crinkle sound, will spring up in absolute joy and expectation, knowing that there's going to be a pig ear for her to crunch on loudly. So, yes. 469, F this BS. Yes. Oh shoot, my chat just reset. Sorry, gotta scroll back up again. Okay, we did that one. We did that one. Chris Taylor says, hey, Chris Taylor. Thumbs up. Pakistan claims that India is planning to launch an attack within the next 24 to 36 hours. War between two nuclear powers imminent? I mean, they've been on the precipice for war for 50 years. It does seem like the saber rattling is at the highest it's been. Man, in 20 years? Basically, since they both started accumulating nuclear weapons. I got sent a crazy video footage of a tourist in Kashmir doing a zip line over the little festival where everyone was celebrating, and he's just like, ooh-wee, ooh-wee, as like these like pops and explosions are going off, and you can see bodies falling and people running. And he's like, ooh-wee, just enjoying his like zip line trip. And he finally lands on the zip line. And he like looks back at the field, and it cuts off with him like realizing there's like bodies all over the place. Gnarly, absolutely, just like that's the weird start of a movie type video you would get for some sort of disaster film or whatever. Like this moment of joy this man had. And as he's like, wee, flying over a crowd of people, just getting gunned down and blown up and shit. Just. That is an emotional whiplash if you'll ever go through one. Yeah. So, will they go to war? Seems like everybody seems to be on the cusp of something at the moment. The chance is greater than zero, especially since the United States diplomatic corps has been absolutely eviscerated. So the United States, who would normally send a whole bunch of diplomats in to broker some sort of deal or to negotiate peace, aren't there. They all got fired. Because they're a bunch of like woke, peacenik pinkos, and they're not real men who are all about fighting and drinking. And that's going to serve the world really well, that the largest diplomatic corps in the world isn't there to do diplomacy. But I digress. We're here for charity today. So we still got $132 to go till our charity goal. And we can do it. We got an hour. We got an hour to do $130. We did $868 in an hour. We could do $132 an hour. That's less than $1 per viewer right now. Less than $1. So if you guys just throw $1 in there, each, all 183 of you actively watching, we'll meet our goal. And we can give this dog a treat. Wouldn't that be amazing? She'd think it's amazing. And 9, the one time I'll ever genuinely thank Trump for something, turn the can Canadian election completely around by getting involved. Yeah, it's the everything Trump touches dies curse. He's like King Midas in reverse in that respect. Yeah, Pierre was like, shut the fuck up, you're ruining this for me. Stay out of it. And oops. Right. Titleist, well, happy, beautiful birthday, Houston. Since we are in the area of time of your birthday, everybody should congratulate you daily from now on. They already do, my man. I'll tell you what, if you guys get it right this year, I will acknowledge it. How about that? Although in the chat once, my brother accidentally revealed it a couple years ago, but I don't think many of you paid attention. So it's out there. It's out there. Darren, the metals company applied for 1 permit and 2 licenses for deep sea mining. A link was included to reference article, but someone removed it. It's on Yahoo Finance under news. For Omex? Yeah. Apparently the government is moving towards it, which if you are invested in Omex, you're going to make a very pretty penny off of that news. That being said, it is an awful earth-destroying technology. It is going to just murder wildlife in the oceans and destroy fisheries and probably cause like food chain collapse in multiple regions around the planet. But we'll get our manganese and rare earths that way, I guess. So that's the trade-off, I reckon. Bex, Houston, a funnel cloud just went over my house. Ever had that happen to you? No. The closest I've had is a couple years ago. We got a tornado warning on our phones, which we're like, what? And we'll bring up the map here again, because why not? We love our maps. I gotta leave Hawaii and go back across the ocean. Bye-bye, Mauna Kea. Goodbye, Big Island. We gotta go to the little island. The northwest. Here we go. The northwest. Okay. All right. So, I am on Bainbridge Island here. We got a notification that there was a tornado heading our way, and that tornado touched down here around Kitsap Lake. This was, I think spring 2022 is when it was. Spring 2022. Might have been 2021, but I think spring 2022. So, it's like, go for cover, get in basements, blah, blah, blah. We're all just like, what the hell? This never happens to us. And what ended up happening was the tornado kind of touched down here and then dissipated a bit, but we got line winds, and the line winds blew across the island and a few minutes later, and this giant tree in my backyard crashed down, knocked down another tree, so I had just these thousands of pounds of wood in the backyard, and all I have is a crappy electric chainsaw. And I destroyed my body cutting that tree with my crappy electric chainsaw, trees, and then dumping it in the woods. Because that's what you gotta do. It's there. It's in the backyard. I'm thankful it didn't hit the house or anything like that. And that's what we got out of it. A few years ago in Port Orchard, this town here, a tornado landed near the Walmart and took the roofs off of 400 houses. It was a F2. I'd never seen a tornado touch down before. There's pretty good video footage of it. And then I guess when I was a kid, there was an F1 that touched down this part of Bremerton. But usually I mean once every 4 or 5 years, if there is a tornado, it hits in Enumclaw, which is out here. It's this kind of little plateau at the base of Mount Rainier. And it's kind of, if you go through here, you're like, oh, this is like plain state stuff, except there's a mountain in the background. That's kind of where tornadoes have touched down more often in the past, is this field out here. We had a big giant storm about a month ago, and all the meteorologists were like, there's going to be tornadoes, there's going to be, baseball-sized hail, and then it never materialized. But no, we don't really get that. The only tornado I've seen in person, I've seen waterspouts. The only tornado I've seen in person was out in South Dakota. I was at the motorcycle rally. My friend and I went up to Belle-Fourche, this little cowboy town up here. And on the drive back from Belle-Fourche, where these little hills are, a big funnel cloud passed over us and then touched down, I guess probably over in these fields here. That was about 2012 maybe. And that was terrifying because it was raining so hard. The wipers are going crazy. And so you actually can't see in front of you. And then all of a sudden the rain stopped and there's just a funnel cloud maybe 200 yards from us, thankfully going the opposite direction of us through this field here. That's the only one I've ever seen on land. And then once during El Nino in 98, I was down visiting my brother down in San Clemente. He's living down here. And we went to the San Clemente State Park, the cliffs overlooking things, kind of like where the Nixon White House is. I think the Western White House is here, somewhere in here, but some cliffs. And the El Nino year was insane. We're talking just monster surf everywhere. The beaches were just littered in oranges because they've been ripped off all the trees and flowed down the streams. So there's oranges everywhere. But we looked out towards like the Catalinas, and there was, I think we counted 21 funnel clouds which had touched down and were over the water. And that was really cool to see. Yeah, so there you go. That's my... I'm glad that the funnel cloud didn't destroy your house there, Bex. Yeah. So there. Bex also says, I bet it did on your birthday. Well, every day is my birthday, apparently. So yeah, that's when the tornadoes touched down. Murph Studios, can I just say, you look odd in a hoodie and not in an eclectic shirt. This is like the uniform I wear when I Twitch stream. So you got to come over to the Twitch stream when I actually do them. And you'll see me dressed in my civvies. Katie and Houston dance like no one is watching. Dance like they are watching, and you're making them uncomfortable. Sir alert! Oh, Houston, how fast do you think the empty ports will hit? Thanks in advance. Oh, the next month. For sure. We'll still have some stuff coming in from countries that only have the 10% tariffs, but stores like Walmart, 70% of what they sell is manufactured in China. We talked about this the other day and about how they created that Chinese manufacturing system by squeezing their vendors and basically putting their vendors out of business, then buying their naming rights and then subcontracting, having their stuff made in factories in China. Yes, they've done it to themselves here, but we still need things. We still need some sort of velocity of money through the economy to sustain our economy. We're getting squeezed from all sides. We're getting squeezed on tariffs. We're getting squeezed on housing. We're getting squeezed on commercial real estate. We're getting squeezed on stocks. We're getting squeezed on bonds. We are destroying entire agencies and government functions and services that contribute to the velocity of money and build wealth in the long term. I don't know if you saw John Oliver this past week, but he talked specifically about the National Institutes of Health and how we are destroying food safety. We're no longer testing for food. We're destroying our ability to detect diseases. So like if there's a hepatitis outbreak, wherever you are, anywhere in the world, if there's a hepatitis outbreak, the only lab on Earth that can test for it has been closed. So good job. Now we can all get hepatitis and never know about it. So woohoo! Things are improving. They cut $780 million from AIDS grants. They closed Meals on Wheels. So old people that need that food because they can't go to the grocery store because they're physically unable. Guess what? They don't get to eat anymore. So starve to death, you old hag. Like we're cutting cancer research. We're like food stamps, Medicare, Medicaid. There's tons of folks. There's probably folks of you in the chat right now who work in healthcare whose jobs may be in jeopardy because Medicaid and Medicare dollars aren't going to come through. And NIH grants aren't going to come through. So yeah, we're getting squeezed from all sides, and this is a completely voluntary, unforced error. We scored an own goal on ourselves on this one and didn't need to. And like half the countries like patted themselves on the back. They're like, oh, yeah. Because they don't understand anything. They'll understand the pain when it hits and their job losses and, you know, losing their houses and all that stuff. But they don't have the capacity to understand where it came from and that they did it to themselves. It's like the stove is really hot and red, and they touched it, and they're like, "Fuck you, Mom," when they had the power to not touch the stove in the first place. It's insane. So yeah, it's coming, Snart Alert. Be lucky that you're in Germany, my man. Scruff Gaza. Congrats on the charity effort. Brilliant use of your platform. Salute. Any BBYQ news? Like earlier, not much. The plan man is basically looking for clawbacks. So if you go into bankruptcy, Chapter 11, like they have here, Chapter 7 doesn't matter. And you've paid, I think it's more than $1,000 to any creditor, or $1,000 expense in general, to anyone within 90 days of that declaration of bankruptcy. You are legally allowed to claw that money back. I'm not sure why that rule exists or how it exists, but it's something they can do. So they're trying to claw back. There's a bunch of overpayments they made in taxes. So you may get some sort of assessment if you have commercial property or sales tax or whatever, and you pay these taxes. And what the companies do is they pay more into it than they probably should have, because there'll be write-offs and everything. So you're seeking the overpayments back in this case. And then there's also payments to certain vendors that they're clawing back. So that's what they're working on. For every dollar they get back, the plan man gets his cut, and that's his motivation in this. They also got a whole bunch of, they got $300 million in creditors basically tossed out, and a bunch reassigned from is it class 1 to class 6. So it goes from like secured creditor to unsecured creditor, or from like primary administrative claim to an unsecured creditor. So that reduces the liability a lot. So that gives us closer to a waterfall cascade for us shareholders. And there we go. Scott Pollen, HW YouTube isn't letting me submit GPS locations. I don't know why. Other people were able to submit them the other day. Some people, it doesn't let them do it. Maybe because you're overseas. Is it because you're in India? And they're like, we can't let the Indians submit locations on the map. You can do the what 3 words that Martin sends us. You can go what3words.com and do it that way, and then we can look at it through that. Scott Lumley was 35th. And I forgot to check up on our update here. How are we doing? We're at $890. So we got another Canadian anonymous celebrating the election there. So we're $110. $110. There's 193 of you in here. If you all donate $1 right now, we win. We meet our goal for our, so either our 49th or our 50th. So last show was either our 48th or 49th Charity Tuesday. But and we will be at $147,000 raised for Charity Tuesdays over the last not quite 4 years. So not too shabby, right? Just $110. That's all it takes. Then this little blanket blob here will get excited because she'll get to crunch on a pig ear. And if you're a dog and you're stuck inside 90% of your life sleeping because out of sheer boredom, having the opportunity to pig ear is one of the few dopamine releases you get to experience throughout your day. So by all means, there's Julius Miami getting in there. Well, another one. Carol Ann Burrows got in there too. So now we're at $905. $95 to go. There. They just helped 15 of you. Shirk your responsibility of donating $1. So make the Monkey Butt happy. Make the Save the Children happy. Make the Houston happy. I'm also wearing a shirt that one of you viewers sent me. So I forgot to mention this one. Lovely thing to find in my P.O. box. Again, P.O. box is down there. If you ever want to send me cool shirts, I will love them up. That's my favorite thing. Beyond Charity Tuesday. Okay. Kid Katie in Houston, answer me this. How many wooks can a woke wook wake if a woke wook could wake wooks? 3. Scott Pollen, search Mauritania. I am not going to the Eye of Africa, Scott. Darren Saunders, Houston. People want to know, are you a Judas Priest fan? Also, a wolf looking a little squeezy. People have said wolf looking a little squeezy. Yes, I'm a Judas Priest fan. I managed to see him twice so far. Although they're one of their drummers just got fired. and then another guy die. Didn't that just happen to Judas Priest? I know they announced this big tour. They're touring with... Crap. I was kind of surprised at the band that they're touring with, but they announced a big tour. The last time I saw them was probably about 10 years ago. Yeah. It was at the Washington Mutual Arena, which is funny because Washington Mutual doesn't exist, but they still call it like WAMU Arena because the naming rights were for like 40 years. Great show. It was them. It was someone weird like Mastodon. It might have been. Is that a Mastodon? Someone was like, "Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting combo." I mean, I can understand they appreciate each other, but the genres of rock and roll metal don't quite fit in there. But yeah, I like Judas Priest. None off. How is this market stir up in Houston? What are they aiming for? They're aiming to get a bunch of regulars, a bunch of normies holding bags. That's what they want to do. They want the pension funds to be like, well, I guess we won't have to sell anything. And then they're going to hold on to this all and it's going to collapse out from under them. And then they're going to piss off all the mobsters who run those pension funds. The longshore workers released a statement yesterday that was kind of like, it was real Goomba. It was very much like, hey, you're fucking with our pensions and our ports are empty. Heads are gonna roll. So that should get interesting. The Tendy Man, you are the most negative person I've ever seen on YouTube. Tendy Man! That's what I have to say to you. Scott Lumley, Houston. Happy birthday. I am so happy with the results of our Canadian election. Trump yapping about Canada becoming another state completely swung the election in the right direction. Another unforced error. He's fantastic at that. Hostile Takeover, Houston. Serious question. Thinking of atmospheric conditions, why does it rain? Well, you see, we orbit the sun, and while we orbit the sun, we rotate on an axis. And this causes the sunshine to not be steady over the surface for 24 hours as we get essentially half the day of sunshine, half the day of night, depending on your latitude, because we're at such a somewhat tilted axis. When the sun is shining, right? The sun shines and energy bombards the atmosphere and the surface of the earth, warming the air. And as the air absorbs this energy, it warms. And as we know, warm things expand. And as it expands, it starts to rise. And other air descends and fills in that space where the air was rising. As the air rises, it starts to cool because it's much thinner. It has less capacity to retain heat. It's closer to the top of the atmosphere where things are much, much colder. And the water vapor in that air, as rising, starts to condense around particulates. Those particulates include carbon dioxide, sulfides, dust, etc. And they condense around the things, and that's when you start to see clouds. That's the condensation. That's the condensing around those particles. And if there's enough particles in there, right, it can condense around those particles and form raindrops, so then it can no longer be held up and suspended by the atmosphere and the winds, and it drops. And that's how you get rain. Sun comes out, warms the air, air rises, it cools, condenses, and then it rains. That's the most common way. Granted, there are some other ways, orographic lift, but we're not going to bother getting into those today. Bill Coyne, V for Vendetta, we are living the movie. I had a roommate, Jenny, in college, and I love Jenny. She's wonderful. She's a great artist. She's an astronomer as well. But she was obsessed with phone technology. It's like 2005, 2006, right? And whenever a new phone came out, the Palm Pilot Treo, some Windows phone, whatever, she would get it. And then she would spend all her time like doing things with it, looking at it. And she's like, hey, do you want to go see V for Vendetta? I was like, sure, let's go see it. I got, homework to avoid. And so we go to the movie theater. It's in Hilo, Hawaii. And we go to the movie theater, and we're like the only ones in the theater. And we get like the really good seat. That seat's kind of in the middle that has those bars you can like put your feet up on because there's like a walk lane in front of you. So we got those really good seats. And I watched the movie. I'm thinking the movie is incredible. It's poignant. It's laying it all out. It's very anti-fascist. It's my jam. Explosions and whatnot. And she is on her Palm Pilot Treo, just for 2 hours. And at the end of the movie, she's like, that movie sucked. And I was like, I liked it a lot. She's like, it was lame. Like, you were on your phone the entire time, ding dong. She's like, whatever. Maybe 6 months later, it's like out on DVD and stuff. And she's like, dude, have you seen V for Vendetta? It is amazing. And I was like, bitch, I saw it with you. You said it sucked because you were on your phone the entire time. Anyway, that's my V for Vendetta story. Mulek Woolhead. Have you watched Richard Newton lately? For a teacher who doesn't make much, he's doing an amazing job building a giant stack of GME. Yeah, I think he's got some of the best ability to how do I put this? To sort of infer information out of incomplete information, right? Incomplete data. He has a definite ability to sort of look at these patterns, look at opening and closing prices, volumes throughout time, short interest, implied short interest, actual short interest, and sort of peg these cycles pretty darn well. He does a fantastic job at that. I commend him. Absolutely wonderful. Oh my goodness, we flew. Malin Hurt got in here and that put us over the top. We're at $1,105. That means monkey butt. Oh, it's you heard me lean back. Oh, it's been a little while, huh? Yeah, I'm gonna give you a treat in a week or so. How about that one, right? That's a good gnarly pig here. You want that one? Yeah? There you go. Okay. Perfect. Yes! We did it! Woohoo! Victory. $1,105. Mainly Hurt puts us over the top. Thank you so much. And I know your family does trucking, so I hope everything's okay with you folks. So thank you for helping save the children. I know you're probably all eyeballing the ports right now, wondering. And so thank you for putting us over the top on there. Right? Wait, monkey? She's happy. She's just happy schmappy. So every $150 over this, monkey butt will get another treat. I don't know if she want a pig ear. I do have some like jerky treats that I can slip her, so I may have to do that. Yeah. Let's see if we can get further along, because I'm only in the chat. I'm only 7 minutes into the show, and I've got another 37 minutes to go. So let's see how much more we can get going here. Not a moth. Is bird flu still coming? Haven't heard much other than measles run riot across the United States. Yes, but we do not have the ability to follow bird flu anymore, because one of the things that RFK Jr. and the Trump administration did was they fired all the epidemiologists who were monitoring bird flu. They say in press releases, oh, we're keeping our eye on it. But literally, there are no scientists left who are actually keeping their eye on it. So I don't know who they have keeping their eye on it, but it certainly isn't the experts. There's a little report that came out that said that the mutations in dairy cows have not yet had that fifth and final, gain of function to make it something that would spread amongst the human population. And does not appear to necessarily be evolving that way at the moment, but things can change in a hurry. Think about like COVID. Flu, like a coronavirus, is an RNA virus, and they're very easy to mutate. If you are infected, right, you're looking at trillions upon trillions upon trillions upon trillions upon trillions upon trillions upon trillions. Like, almost, you can't even conceive how many times that virus is replicating inside of you. And each time it replicates is a probability of mutation. And mutations don't necessarily mean that there's a gain of function, that something's different. But the more mutations you have, the higher probability there is going to be some sort of gain of function or evasion of the efficacy of vaccines or treatment. And so if we have this flowing through cattle populations, bird populations, wild animal populations, etc., with impunity, and no one's keeping their eye on any of this, then we're going to get surprised with a gain of function sooner than we would otherwise. Prior to 2019, bird flu was mostly concentrated in Southeast Asia, among, for the most part, farms. And we had USAID workers stationed in all those nations in Southeast Asia, including China. Whenever there was word that there was a bird flu outbreak, they would go, they would slaughter the birds, they would quarantine everybody, and they would provide treatment and cash compensation for the loss to the farmer. We did that for decades, and we kept bird flu in check. And then October 2019, the Trump administration fired every single one of those epidemiologists. Every single one of them. And they weren't just monitoring bird flu. They were monitoring Ebola. They were moderating hemorrhagic fevers. They were monitoring coronaviruses. They were looking at bat populations, wild animal populations. They were collecting these things, figuring out, where it could come from. They were in China. And when they got word of outbreaks in China, just like during SARS, they were out there and they helped the Chinese government sort of put a stop to this stuff. We fired them in October 2019, and 3 weeks later, COVID. So and by we, I mean the Americans, and by Americans, I mean Donald Trump, has absolutely destroyed our ability to monitor the spread of these diseases. So you don't know when there's a hepatitis outbreak. You don't know if there's foodborne pathogens poisoning people because of, a mess up in a factory, cows shitting all over lettuce, whatever. We don't know where it's happening, when it's happening, and we're going to know about it much too late. Because not only did they cut the monitors of these programs, they cut the grants that went to individual states that then were able to monitor these programs. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in grants to all the healthcare agencies in counties and states and cities around the country have just disappeared and dried up. So the state funding now has to come up with hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in order to make up for the lack of federal grants that are now coming their way. Meaning your state does not have the ability to monitor and track these diseases because they don't have the money to do it. The grant money was going to their health departments, local universities, and it's just gone. So when bird flu does make that leap and is going to human transmission, it's going to spread quite a lot before we realize what's happening because we just aren't tracking it anymore. So, Bex, Pierre Polivier, lost his own writing. National Democratic Party lost official party status, and Jagmeet Singh is stepping down. Yeah, I think a lot of people, NDP, on that leftist side, a lot of folks were terrified that the Conservatives were going to win, and they just were like, I can't vote for third party this time. And I think they went over to the Labor at this point. Where to Wander, I donated $40. My first was anonymous by accident. Okay, well, there you go. I'm not keeping a list right now because I still have so many things I got to ship out. They're currently in boxes, and I need like a team of people to volunteer and come help me just ship all this stuff. Anyway, we're still at $1,105 for donations today. We can always do more. There's always more treats we can get from Monkey Butt, right? Okay, get past these donations here. Jeff Chrisman, wish I could donate, but was laid off. Oh, shit. Because Jeff Chrisman, you've been an excellent donator in the past. I'm sorry you've been laid off, man. Shit. Well, don't worry. We made our goal. You're good. We're okay. Martin Weiss, here's a what 3 words for Martin. Let's see where he's going to take us, huh? Okay, copy that. I got to go there. I got to turn off the Google Earth. Turn on the Chrome, which... Is that this one? No, not that one. That's the wrong one. Where did... Oh. Wait. Oh, this one here. There we go. Done. Bam. Ha! All right. Things have gotten confusing over here. What 3 words? Where is Martin going to take us? Boom. Paste that. Yes, waiter. I'm a waiter. Wader. Soviet Marks generator. Ooh, what do we got going on here? Tesla Bashnia. This is interesting. What are you? Where are we? Got Tesla. We got Soviet. We are outside Moscow. Okay. Well, now I'm gonna have to go to Google Earth. Generator. This is a Arkad Yeva Marksa. Wow. Generator. I already forgot what it said. Arkad Eva Marksa. Arkad Eva Marksa. Arkad Eva Marksa. There we go. Moscow Oblast. What is this thing? Oops, you guys can't see because the Google Earth is not on. Bam. There we go. We're going to it here. We're going to it. We're out here at this ye old thing. What are you? Show me a picture. There's a tree. Oh. Looks like water slides that don't go anywhere. But are these Tesla coils? Are these like defunct Tesla coils of some kind? What the hell is this thing? What do we got over here? What can you tell me? We have a quart. We've got some big old doohickeys. How about you? There's a tower of some kind. So there's one of those. It looks like also a Tesla coil up top. Tesla Brashnia. There's those thingies again in the snow. What on earth is this place? Is there Wikipedia? I have no Wikipedia. There's the Tesla Coil Water Park is a smaller one. So what on earth? I'm going to copy this. Because there's got to be like something. Tell me what this is. All right, copy that. All right. And then we got to go back to this. Oops. Google Earth, turn off. There we go. Okay. There we go. Go there. Go like that. Paste. What are you? Google Patents, unclassified. Cool. I have no idea. Okay, maybe we try that one. Elite Russian Special Forces that kill civilians. That doesn't make any sense. Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. I don't know what that means. Special economic measures. So I don't get to find out what this giant Tesla coil contraption is because even the internet doesn't know. If you know, send it my way because I'm very curious. Monkey, what are you trying to do? Trying to escape? You can't escape. There's no escape for you. You're stuck here until I escape. 27 minutes from now. Martin, I have no idea what those things are. They look like Tesla coils and water slide configuration. Sphincter salad sandwich. H-Jizz, is this bullish? No. Joe's Mammy, 100 men versus 1 gorilla. Houston, let's discuss. If it's just fisticuffs, that gorilla is absolutely obliterating, just haymakering every single one of those 100 men. I do not think we stand a chance. It's like saying 100 men can defeat Geo Metro driving through a crowd. You're not. It's just going to, you still have 1,500 pounds of steel that's just going to mash you again and again and again and again. Like a chimpanzee isn't that big. A chimpanzee is like 125 pounds. They're the size of like a 7th grader, right? The chimpanzee has tensile strength of its tendons enough they can rip your arms out of your socket and beat you to death with them. Humans do not have that kind of strength. Even the strongest humans do not have that kind of strength. We do not have the tensile strength, the tendon strength, in order to do that kind of damage. Just look at a gorilla. Just look at the hulking meat that is a gorilla and just how big their bones are compared to you. Yeah, without weapons, just full on mono ape. That ape is going to wreck your shit. Chris Taylor. We got some pre-made pizza dough rising, and the stone is heating for some homemade pizza for dinner tonight. I like plain. What are your favorite pizza toppings? My favorite pizza of all time is a vongole. It's a very simple pizza. It is, you steam clams, you then shuck the clams, you then mince the clam meat into tiny little bits, crumbs. You take the pizza dough, olive oil, you can do mozzarella if you want, grana padano, parmesan, garlic, minced roasted garlic, and then you put the bits of clam all over it. It is so simple and absolutely life-changing. Imagine if a clam chowder somehow had a baby with a crab cake, and that is what a vongole pizza is. Oh, it is heaven. Second favorite pizza is Dade prosciutto. I also like it with apple and prosciutto. Again, it's a no sauce, olive oil base, mozzarella, basil. Throw your dates or your apples on top. If I do apples, I like to cinnamon the apples a little bit, little chopped up apples. You bake that, and at the end, put prosciutto on top and a balsamic vinegar reduction. Little syrup on top. From there, I like... Then I go kind of simple pizzas, like mitzas, red sauce and meat. I like to do like a sausage pizza with an egg, delicious. Like a prosciutto and arugula, simple, delicious. Prosciutto arugula with an egg, woo, so good. Egg on pizza, you cannot deny its superiorness. I also like, if I'm going to go for slutty pizza, and this is where people get angry at me, but pineapple is delicious. Pineapple is delicious on steak. Pineapple is delicious in curry. Pineapple is delicious in everything because pineapple is amazing. I will gladly have like a pepperoni sausage and pineapple pizza. I think it's really good. And you can hate me for it, but that just leaves more slices for me to eat. So screw y'all. Yeah. True Seeker, great charity. Thank you so much. Where are we charity-wise? I forgot to... Oh, crap. There we are. We're at 1,119. Alex Bishop got in there. Thank you so much, Alex Bishop. Yeah. Woo. Yas UPS fires 20,000 staff. Ugh. This is part of that unforced error, man. It's part of your unforced error. Yeah. We're gonna see more of it. I had a commenter on one of my posts talking about how their husband is at FedEx, and he's like, his hours have been cut by like 2/3. There's just less stuff going around because A, things are too expensive or not getting shipped, and B, people are tightening their belts. They're just not spending. So I don't blame them, man. I do not blame them at all, because this is out of everyone's hands. There's one dude in the entire country who could change this in an instant, and he knows it, and he's just, he's there to cause pain. We talked about this earlier. He's a blueberry. He's there. He's just there to freak out and cause pain and piss everyone off. So, yeah. And then we're back to the Nonamoth comment where July 9th will be the 90th day of the pause. Yeah. Nonamoth, Trump's pause destroyed my port, but it's for the kids. What a wonder. Shareholder value, a.k.a. sacrificing the many for the needs of the few. Yeah. Chris Taylor, SMCI lowers Q3 guidance, puts on the menu for me tomorrow. SMCI, for those who don't know, is one of those propped up little weird companies by NVIDIA where they took like $1 billion. Said, hey, SMCI, we're going to lend you $1 billion. SMCI is like, fantastic. To take this money, you got to buy $1 billion of computer chips from us. They're like, okay. Computer chips are hot right now. So they borrow $1 billion, they buy $1 billion of chips from NVIDIA, then they have $1 billion of collateral in chips. Then they go to a bank, say, hey, we have $1 billion in chips. Can you lend us $1 billion? The bank's like, okay, chips are hot right now. So they borrow $1 billion. Then they buy $1 billion more in chips from NVIDIA, and they store them, and they go to the bank like, hey, bank, we got $2 billion in chips. Can we borrow another $1 billion? And the bank's like, yeah, chips are hot right now. And they just keep doing that, right? In the meantime, the chips aren't really being used for anything. They're not going into mining machines or mainframes or routers or video cards. They're just not being used for anything. They're just sitting there aging. And as they age, NVIDIA comes out with newer chips. So suddenly the collateral that is being stored in these chips is losing value day by day as their usefulness starts to evaporate. And at some point, we're going to be at the part where they're going to be forced to liquidate their chips out of the market, dropping chip prices everywhere, forcing them and everyone else who's been storing chips this way via these weird NVIDIA loans to suddenly lose all their value. And then face liquidation, which causes even more sales, which causes even more drop in chip value. And then what? That's what we're waiting to see. Remember, a lot of these guys were holding these chips thinking, oh, the big, giant AI boom was going to come, and they're going to build these huge, giant AI computer systems with cajillions of these chips, and we're going to make so much money. And then the Chinese produced, what was it, DeepThink, back in December, January, that showed that they could make something way more powerful than any AI system that's been created using 1/1000th of the chips on a much older platform. And it only cost them $6 million. And it's not like costing billions. So now all of a sudden you don't need a market for these huge chips because the Chinese just showed you how to do it much more efficiently using older components than you ever would have with the other stuff. So yeah, the SMCI NVIDIA thing is very much similar to what Enron was doing, lending money to other trading groups who were forced to buy energy futures from Enron, who then borrowed against that to buy more energy futures from Enron, who borrowed against that to borrow more energy futures from Enron, and then the whole thing just collapsed eventually. It's what goes around comes around, man. Yeah. I do see at the end, a friend who's in Hawaii, and a UPS driver. A pineapple can totally be on pizza, just don't call it Hawaiian. We don't claim it. Yep, UPS getting cuts in the worst places possible. We lost all the customer service counters, so people can't will call pick up their stuff. Oh shit, that's bad. That's not good at all. A lot of times when you eliminate the customer service folks, service starts to plummet horribly, and then you lose customers, and then things get even worse. So. Lame. Sis54, Houston, is a Canadian space startup viable, or are they reliant on foreign nations for parts, fuel, etc.? Does the weather hinder any of this? No, you can have spaceports. The thing that will hinder Canadians is how north you are. Let's go back to the map, right, of the Earth. And that's not what I'm looking for. That's my thing. I want you. Go here. Okay. So we're currently in Russia. And this is the problem that Russia has for a lot of their things, is that they can't launch geosynchronous satellites. There's some really weird math equations involved in this, but geosynchronous satellites, they hover over the equator. So equator here, and you launch them, and you send them out about 30,000 miles above the surface of the Earth. So they're way out here. And the orbital period, when you're that far out, is the same as the rotational period of the Earth. So you remain over that one point on the Earth all the time. So if you were to go zoom out from the Earth 30,000 miles, you'd find this ring of satellites, geostationary satellites. Most of them are communication satellites or weather satellites, because it's good to have some satellite looking down on, say, the Atlantic Ocean, and you can watch the hurricanes billow their way across, right? Or same thing with the Pacific Ocean, etc. And then your communication satellites, whoops, this thing's trying to zoom me in here. I don't want to zoom in. I want you to get back to where you're facing north. There we go. Your communication satellites are a big deal. Your dish network, I forget, they've all changed names and merged and everything. Most of your like sat phones before Starlink came about, we're all aiming to these things. So here in Seattle, right, we're at 47 degrees north. So we basically point our dishes at a 45-degree angle to the south. If you were in Chile, you'd point to the north at that angle, and you're aiming for that geosynchronous satellite that's 30,000 miles away, and that's when you communicate that way, getting your TV shows and your internet and stuff from that. You do have a couple of problems there, meaning a couple times a year, the sun is behind your satellite. You're looking, like in the wintertime here, you look at a 45-degree angle to the south. There are periods in the winter when the sun is so low on the horizon that you're looking at your dish is looking at the sun. And the radio waves that come from the sun completely drown out your little satellite. So there are periods during the day when you go turn on TV and it's like, because the sun is broadcasting in the exact same wavelength. Now, you can only get satellites to this point with an incredible amount of fuel. Now, if you are along the equator, your launch angle can be at any angle you can dream of, right? So here's Ecuador. They're on the equator. They can launch satellites that go north-south. They can launch satellites that go east-west. They can launch satellites at angles that pass through. And so you ever seen like satellite paths? They look like this kind of sinusoidal graph. And you can launch out to straight out to equatorial launches. When you are further north, right? Like say you want to launch from Cape Canaveral, a geosynchronous satellite. So you're at 20 something degrees north, 24, 25 degrees north. You can launch it to go at a 25 degree angle, right? You can't launch it to match the equator. You just can't because you're above the equator. So you can't suddenly like have it be 25 degrees above this and then go in some circle. That doesn't work that way. It'll end up being a sinusoidal line. So it takes an incredible amount of energy to reposition the satellite far enough south so that it can be at a geosynchronous equatorial orbit. So that's why you want your launch stations for those to be as close to the equator as possible. So the Europeans have their launch in French Guiana. Here, they're at about 4 degrees north, so it doesn't take that much energy to get it to go equatorial. And everyone else has to pretty much do a north-south polar orbits or spend a lot of energy. Like as much energy, if you're launching from here in Florida or from like Vandenberg Air Force Base and you want equatorial geosynchronous orbit, it takes as much energy to launch that thing into orbit as it does to push it to an equatorial orbit. It's an incredible amount of energy to change that latitude. So like the Russians have no ability, absolutely none, to get anything geosynchronous because they're too far north. They do not have the capacity to have enough fuel to launch from their points. Even when they had as far south as possible in Kazakhstan, they're still too far above the equator to really make that matter. They're still at 41 degrees, which is like Oregon, basically Northern California. They just do not. That's why they tried to launch as far south as possible, and their spaceports were in Kazakhstan because it allowed them to have greater leeway with launching spy satellites at that point. The way spy satellite works is a spy satellite works in a somewhat polar orbit or subpolar orbit. So it's orbiting at a steep angle, and as it orbits a steep angle, the Earth rotates under it. So it makes a circle all day long, and the Earth rotates under it. And so every, 16 days or so, your satellite will pass over the same part of the Earth and be able to take pictures. So as the Earth rotates under it, it's just scanning and taking pictures all the time. And then you set up a huge network of them, and then you can like cover the same spot. So if you put up 16 of these satellites, you can cover the same spot almost every day with a different satellite. Most observation satellites are north-south orbiting satellites. So Canada can have a space company or federal space agency or whatever you want to call it. They're just not going to be able to do equatorial orbits without somehow leasing a spaceport from someone along the equator or close to the equator, or creating some sort of barge that can hover off the equator. But yeah, you can do it. You have plenty of materials. You got all the metals you could possibly want. You can develop rare earth mines if you want to and undercut China. You got all the fuel you need. You can do it. Do you have the cash, though? That's the question, because space is very expensive. That's why the United States has it. That's why the European Union banded together, have their own space agency. That's why Japan and India have partnered. They're partners in their space agencies. It's very difficult to get the money together without having a huge population base to go from. So, but Canada can do it if you want to. Do you want to? Is the question. Let's go back to. Well, we're still at $1,119 raised. So we've still met our goal. We have 10 minutes left. If you'd like to throw anything else in there, another $31 and Monkey Butt gets another treat. So that's exciting. She's become a floor dog down here, though, so she's fat and happy, I guess. And Mr. E-Machine, when was the new SEC chairman appointed? I'm just curious, so that way anyone who says that Trump will address naked short selling, I can tell them it has been a month. What was Paul Atkins done? I think he was finally approved. Was it last week he was finally approved? But he was appointed months ago. But they finally got around to approving him. I think it was last week, maybe a week before. Paul Atkins sworn in. Last week, 21st, 8 days ago. So yeah, he was sworn in 8 days ago. So we'll see if he does anything about naked short selling. I think all Paul Atkins cares about is crypto. That's his job, is to get crypto to all the crypto bros as much money as possible. CJ Johnson says Blueberry. Where to Wander says I like this story. Aaron T says love the show, keep up the good vibes. See, I got called the most negative person in the entire world, and you're saying keep up the good vibes. So there we go. And Carol Ann says kindness is the most powerful form of resistance to tyranny. It's a very powerful one. If you can get 3.5% of your population marching, the government fails and has failed every single time. So there's a 3.5% threshold. 1% usually initiates some sort of vibrant change. But if you can get 3.5% marching like all the time, then governments fail after that. Bat Bones, Houston. Just sitting here with my buddy Patrick on vacation, making him watch this episode. Say hi to him. Hi, Patrick. Welcome aboard. 8 minutes to go. Oh shoot, there's the reset. I think it was Where to Wander was next, right? There we go. Where to Wander. This gives me the Force Awakens vibes. There must be some kind of thermal oscillator. Yes. As a friend will making a donation, I couldn't check the display or name box. That's okay. We're not collecting for giveaways this time around. Not until I finally get my shit together and do something about the 50 packages I need to ship. Let's have a BB Boy payout so I can just hire an assistant to do all these things for me, because I'm useless otherwise. Bernok. Those fallback power plants are already there. The issue is that when the grid snaps, recoils, it doesn't help that you have enough power producers. They just need to build out the grid. Noted. It just made me Greenland connection. Yeah, Greenland's satellite service apparently is based out of the Iberian Peninsula. So like their internet was down during that power outage, which is also interesting. But I wonder, board skirmish imminent, war might happen because of that. With in India, Pakistan, yeah. Nanamoth, Putin wants to give Trump Moscow in order to bribe him. Trump has been trying to get a Trump Tower built in Moscow since the 80s, and even violated federal law by bribing Putin with a $50 million penthouse in his Trump Tower in Moscow. That's against the law. That's a felony. Why no one charged him for that, I don't know. But it's been almost 40 years since his dream of building a Trump Moscow has been blossomed, and you know, what are you going to build a tower in Moscow and then get what, ruples for it? Lame. Where to Wander? Oh great, I just got an emergency tornado warning. Thanks for jinxing me, Houston. Sorry. Yeah. And Where to Wander says, who needs fisheries? The poor can eat cockroach meat. Donald Trump probably. Yeah. Jay, Houston, what would you do if you got Donald DJT shares as a payment for your BBYQ shares? Thank Trump. I'd probably sell them and live with my conscience. Where to Wander? Good game, chat. Mission Machine, are your student loans paid off? No. Man, says, so far so good. Talking about your shipping. Good. Or trucking. Carolyn Burrows, we won't know when Inch 5N1 goes human to human until hospitals are overrun and healthcare workers get sick. It's a 50% case fatality rate. COVID had a 1 to 2% case fatality rate. Yeah, 51% of those folks who have gotten bird flu since we've discovered its existence have died. The case fatality rate is bonkers. We talked about this a couple shows ago. If you have a serious case of bird flu, your treatment is to go on an ECMO machine, and most major hospitals have one of those. They're very rare machineries. So what you're looking at is a triage of who we're going to save, and that person just stays on that machine until they determine otherwise. And everyone else, well, that's it. It's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad. J-Dog, Frederickson, Washington had an F-1 back in 2013 over by Boeing, knocked over a train car. Northwest Weather Service confirmed it was on ground for 1 mile, 200 feet wide. There you go. Well, someone knows more about tornadoes than I do. Alex Bishop, what it do, baby? Not quite sure. Chris Taylor, yummy all around. Dave Wright, I'm with you on the pineapple. Oh, people like pineapple. That's good. Good. Anonymous donated, got a $50 donation. Monkey butt. You know what that means? That means another crunchy thing. Want to close out the show with another crunchy thing? Does that sound good? One of these crunchy things? How about a skinny little one? Does that look good to you? I want to come take it? I can't do the monkey cam anymore because she can't go on her hind legs. So she just falls over because she only has one leg back there. Yeah, eat that. Nom nom nom. Nom nom nom, monkey. Come on, close. Close, you bag of stink. $1,169 towards Save the Children. You folks are fantastic. I can count on you month in, month out, so we can rock our goal. Absolutely just annihilate it. And I cannot wait for the day when we get one of the payouts for one of these little stock plays and we just annihilate the record. Like 6 figures, 7 figures for Charity Tuesday. That'd be amazing. And whatever charity that is going to be, they're going to be like singing and dancing. All because of that. DRS for the win. Can's lost its mind. 51st incoming. No. That's offensive and wrong. And no. I mean, they literally elected the top economist alive today as their premier. That's the prime minister. He's the only person ever to lead 2 different central banks. You are not going to out-economy this dude. You aren't. And he's witty. He's clever. He's funny. He's personable. He's active. Like, Donald Trump is nothing compared to this dude. And he basically got Donald Trump to be like, Carney is amazing. Because Carney basically told him to go fuck himself. We'll sell off all of our treasuries and crash your dollar. And Trump was like, please don't do that. So he's a hell of a negotiator. No, Canada's going to be fine there, DRS, FTW. Chris Taylor, play Kerbal Space Program. You'll learn lots about putting shit in orbit. Kerbal Space Program is actually a very, 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 very good game for teaching people rocket science and orbital mechanics. It's fantastic. KCDB, Houston. I have a very important question. How big is Uranus? Pretty big. Uranus holds 14 Earths worth of water. That's a lot of water in Uranus. I didn't get that much when I went barefoot skiing, water skiing, but it's a lot. And KCB, hey Houston, happy birthday. Another question, is Uranus a gas giant? It is full of volatiles. That is true. Like I said, there's 14 Earths worth of water. There's a lot of methane. Goodness gracious, there's a lot of methane. A lot of ammonia. And also more basal elements like hydrogen, helium. But not as much as you have in other larger gas giants. But believe me, the methane in the water in Uranus alone is notable. Also, that lends to a very large magnetic field. Just how much water is in Uranus generates a lot of magnetic energy. Muley Coolhead likes pineapple on pizza as well. Dig Doink, how did your weekend spy puts do on Monday? That's how they did. The first Monday of this presidency where the SPY didn't open down. It opened green. Oh well. Can't win them all. The Houston reverse index hits again. Major gains. God bless you and the children, Houston. Thank you. Your friend. Aloha from Wahoo. I meant that you could be why you're seeing more anonymous donations. Oh, that could be why. Because not letting people throw them in there. Okay. And I think I get to the end of the chat here. Where to wonder, do you think Trump would put troops on the Canadian border to pressure Canada to become 51st state? I think he'd be dumb enough to do that. And in turn, trigger Article 5, which would force all of NATO to rock our shit. And that in turn would force half the United States to turn against Donald Trump because they would not believe in what is happening. So it's a great way to create probably a 3 or 4 front war as well as an internal struggle if he were to do that. It'd be a really, really dumb, dickish behavior and would lead to probably his murder at the hands of American generals who are like, fuck this shit. So yeah, by all means, Donald, go for it. Be that dumb. Where to wonder, if so, American and world reaction. World reaction would be the world's at war with America. American reaction would be half of America would be at war with America. It would be messy. It'd be really, really messy. Juice Miami says, folks, read Devin Nunes' DJT letter to shareholders mentioning naked short sellers. Okay. Chris Taylor, gas giant after that, garlic muscle pizza for sure. Richard says is last, and Where to Wander says generals would rebel, I hope. I think they would too. On that note, everybody, thank you again for making yet another successful Charity Tuesday. We have raised over $147,000 for charity on our Charity Tuesdays. It's incredible. You are actively saving the children, and you're part of the Stream Team. Oh, wrong arm. Stream Team. So thank you so much for making yet another successful Charity Tuesday. Again, you still have the opportunity, if you're watching the show later, to click the donate button and donate there. Much appreciated. Everything's tax write-off. If you're watching the show later and seeing the commercials go towards that charity as well. So I want to thank you all so very much for doing this. And to whatever new viewers we have coming over from my Facebook profile, which I never expected to ever go viral because I never treated that profile that way. But welcome. And I will see you folks tomorrow for a regular show. Right? Right, Monkey? Yeah, we're cool. Probably a regular hour-long show because I don't have it in me to do 2-hour shows anymore. My body's falling apart in that respect. So one more Cherry Tuesday intro and we're out. Boom.
Let's get started. Let's go. Houston, we have a problem.
I just can't believe I made it to the end of the chat. So that right there is a pat on the back itself. Bye-bye.